Do you remember earlier in February, I did a top 5 list of what would be the most shocking stories of the NFL offseason or free agency or whatever it was, the time period. And I believe number 3 was any starting quarterback going somewhere else. Just name it. Give me a starting quarterback not staying put, going somewhere else, changing an address. We're waiting to see if Sam Darnold is, in fact, going to be one of those quarterbacks. You never know. The Vikings could be making a pitch to say, please stay put. And he does, and leaves Seattle and Pittsburgh holding the bag of nothing. Or of a plan B, let's put it that way.
Bag of nothing, though. I like that.
So that's like Sound and Fury, bagging nothing. How old is that reference? That's a Shakespeare reference. Well, actually, it's a Stuart Scott reference. Because that was one of his favorite phrases, Sound and Fury signifying nothing. At any rate, long story short.
That's a Macbeth reference.
We did see a quarterback change address on Friday to kick this whole thing off. When the Seahawks are like, hey, Pete, you like Geno so much, we try to re-sign him. Apparently that's the story. They try to re-sign him. He said no, and they're like, okay, you're gone. You're gone.
He gone.
And it's a new address. Geno is in Vegas.
Wow.
And I love this move for Las Vegas because it does not mean anything but flexibility and stability. What do I mean by that? Flexibility is 6th overall pick, quarterback drops to you, kid you love so much, you turn to Geno and say, listen, we don't mean to turn you into Kirk Cousins here, but it's possible. And people have to deal with that. If that moment comes, it may not. But the bottom line is, in terms of flexibility, they can go wherever they want with that draft choice now. They're not locked into having to get that quarterback because they don't want, for the second straight year, to go through the first round of an NFL draft without getting a quarterback and then dealing with the aftermath and the consequences. Just ask Antonio Pierce how that went for him and the Raiders last year. Spoiler alert, poorly. It went poorly. They and the Giants were the teams that went through the first round of last year's draft as quarterback-needy teams that came away with a bag of nothing. So this year they don't have to be concerned about that because they've got Geno, and Geno is nothing but stable, man. That guy is somebody that the locker room will be able to look at and rally around. Seattle did it, and I understand, hey, they didn't win a Super Bowl. They didn't even get to an NFC Championship game with him. What Geno did in Seattle was keep that ship afloat and on occasion a threat. And the Raiders are not one of the teams today, on the first day of you're allowed to talk to free agents who are quarterback needy, who are scrambling and dealing with options and questions. Raiders aren't one of those teams like the Steelers or Seattle or the Jets or the Giants or potentially the Vikings. They're not one of those teams. They're sitting back and looking at other options and figuring out what they're going to do with this draft choice and building around a stable quarterback spot. Now, I understand you want generational, not stable. You want top 5, not stable. You want to do what the Chiefs did, which is strike it rich, or even what the Patriots appear to have in their guy on the back end of that team having to build around a new coach and a new quarterback. And the Raiders are building around a new coach who's been around just like the Patriots in Vrabel, and a new quarterback, except their quarterback is in his 30s and on the back nine, and their quarterback has nothing but blue skies and airplanes with no Wi-Fi. But listen.
Ashtray.
Come on,
what
man.
the Raiders have is stability at the spot right now. And a 6th overall draft choice that if they don't have the guy at the top of their draft board and the quarterback is there that they don't like, they could sit back and say, who wants him? Because the Jets are going to take him as of right now. I kind of dig the move. It takes the pressure off. The coach gets a quarterback who he knows and appreciates, and one would assume vice versa. I kind of dig the move. Is it going to win him a Super Bowl? Who knows? I understand the odds are stacked against them in that regard because of the position from which they're building. But I digged the move. It was a smart move. It's a third-round draft choice. You take the pressure off on the 6th overall pick. You can absolutely win football games. You can compete, which is what Pete's mantra is. You can compete with this guy, and successfully. You re-sign Max Crosby, and you go and you get Geno Smith. Those are 2 big-time moves by the new GM there. I liked it a lot. Because they're not in this searching for the quarterback on day one of free agency mosh pit right now. They're out of it. And the other teams that are in it might wind up with somebody who's a heck of a lot worse than Geno Smith.
For sure. Chris, what were you saying to Filler during the break about like the stats that, all the nerd out stats that Geno's really...
yeah, Geno's top 10 in all the nerd stats.
Yeah.
Like EPA, a drop back, and all that stuff. He's very efficient. He's kind of the definition of a solid quarterback, but like solid plus.
What did the Raiders have last year? They have even a solid minus?
No.
You know what I mean?
Not
It's
even. Not even.
It's so Pete's coming in, and you're going to start building a team that is solid plus. When was the last time the Raiders had solid plus? Jay?
Before I was born.
Okay.
That 1 year Rich Gannon
Rich Gannon was MVP, man.
That was
they were more than solid plus.
2 that year?
I dig the move.
Yeah.
That's the headline. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.